committee to volunteer to tell their story. So we're going to come up here, tell 5 minutes of what our story is. And I cheated because I'm giving myself 2 extra minutes to talk about why tell the story. And as I thought about and meditated upon that, I remembered my dad. As a teenager, my dad would say, when he was lecturing me, he would say, if there's a pothole on Liberty Avenue and you want to avoid it, and I've been in the pothole before, then I'm going to tell you there's a pothole and you're not supposed to drive on it. You know, so I'm telling you and I'm lecturing you because you're going to avoid the pothole. So avoid sex, drugs, alcohol, everything, because it'll lead you in the pothole. Well, as a rebellious teenager, I just didn't take that, you know? He didn't really tell me the story behind his pothole. He just said, avoid the pothole. And that didn't do anything for me. And so I was realizing as I was thinking about the courage to tell your story, it's really about your mistakes, right? Your mistakes where you chickened out, or maybe where you had some courage, and maybe what happened after that. Like, what are you trying to avoid? What mistakes did you have that you learn from that you hope that somebody else can avoid, like your children and whoever else you feel the need to tell your story to? So I think that's the power of story, because it's really not telling somebody to do something or not to do something. It's really just saying, this is where I'm coming from, and you're going to make your decision, and I'm just here to tell my story. Okay, so those are my 2 minutes, hopefully. So I'm first. We have 4 people coming up. I'm first. And my story is about, I was born with a cleft lip, cleft palate. And for those of you who don't know, when I was in the womb, your skull and your flesh forms from the back to the front. And somehow with the cleft lip, cleft palate babies, it stops fusing in the front. And so I was born with a split lip. And at 3 months old, the doctor had to sew me up. And I was lucky I didn't get a big gaping hole in the roof of my mouth. And when you have really severe cases, you might have 2 of those like open parts in your lip, or you might have a big hole in the roof of your mouth, and when you eat, your food comes out your nose, and if that doesn't get sewn up, and that surgery on a little baby, can you imagine, to sew up on the roof of the mouth is so difficult. That's why they have that Operation Smile to go to 3rd world countries that can't afford those operations. Can you imagine those kids go on and try to eat, and it's hard because they have holes on the roofs of their mouth. I didn't have a roof in my mouth. I had the lip and had a crack on the inside of my mouth. And that was difficult by itself, because medically, that was difficult. I had braces from 5th grade. I remember because I cried to Miss Bebeck, I have to get braces. And I just felt like I would be even uglier than I already felt I was. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. So I cried to Miss Bebeck, and I had those braces until just before my senior portraits. So I had them for a long time. And thank you. And I grew up with feelings of like ugliness, of feeling unwanted, of feeling unloved. And that's hard. And I know I'm not the only one just because I have a cleft lip, cleft palate. Other people have felt ugly and unwanted and that they don't belong. So as I grew up, I wondered, how can there really be a God? How can there be a God who makes people imperfect, born differently, have a diagnosis of some kind? Just anything that could be difficult. How can there be a God? So for me, I imploded a lot, and I had like a big gaping hole inside that I tried to fill with, okay, I'm going to get beautiful with makeup, I'm going to get beautiful with, you know, clothes that I wear, I'm going to get beautiful by getting this guy to notice me, and I tried really hard to fill the hole. And then I got married. I found a wonderful man who really thought I was beautiful and tells me I'm beautiful every day. I'm really lucky because I still sometimes don't believe that I'm always beautiful. And then I came to Morning Star, which every nation was once called Morning Star, in Studio City. And for the first time I met people who really looked at me in the eye and said, you know what, you really are beautiful. Because God doesn't make mistakes. You might think he's making mistakes, but there's a reason for this part of your life. And I really didn't really believe that until somebody really looked at me in the eye and really believed that. And they didn't have any outward motivations or implications. Like it wasn't a guy trying to hit on me, you know, trying to get something out of me. It was somebody who sincerely would love me. And from that loving look could tell me, you are beautiful. You are beautiful. God has a reason for this. And I really believe that. And that really changed me. And Pastor Amy was the one that prayed with me after Victory Weekend. And I really felt like I was, what is the word, like absolved of that, I guess. But really, a big kicker came to me maybe 2 years ago. I met a dear friend who became a dear friend really immediately. She has 2 daughters. And one of them has a cleft lip pellet. And she's herself, she looks at her daughters and she says, they're both so beautiful. You're both so beautiful. And she goes on, and I can tell that she senses that her little girl who has a cleft lip maybe doesn't believe her. And I know that. I know that feeling. People might say that you're beautiful, but you may not really believe it, you know, because they might have outward motivations. Or they're just trying to superficially make you feel better. And you know deep inside you really are different. So I felt encouraged by that. And that was God telling me, this is why. This is why. There's so many other people out there who think they're ugly, they don't belong, they are unwanted, they feel that way, but that is not my plan for them. My plan for them is to know me, and it's to know me through you, because you've been there. And you can tell your story, and you can help them avoid a bigger pothole by just telling